Hey, how are y'all? I wanted to talk about myself and Katie's arrest in Tipperary the other week. Um, it is in the greater context of abuse of the Public Order Act, which has been going on in this country for decades. Um, a lot of the criticism we received is, why didn't you just give the Gardaí your name? Why didn't you just cooperate with the Gardaí? Well, there's very good reasons why you don't cooperate with a Garda when he doesn't suspect you of a crime. And there's even better reasons why you don't cooperate with a Garda when he does suspect you of a crime. Um, so, if you would just for a minute imagine, well, actually, let's just see. I was arrested under the Public Order Act. We were arrested under the Public Order Act, and what it clearly states is that the Gardaí may ask you your name under the Public Order Act if they suspect you of a crime under the Public Order Act. Clearly states it in the legislation or in the act. So you will see us. I will play the video at the end. There's a much longer video of that arrest at the end of this video, and I'm going to play it for you guys at the end. You'll clearly see in that video that we asked them multiple times what was the reason that they wanted our name, and they gave multiple reasons, none of which were crimes, and none of which were crimes under the Public Order Act. So we are charged with failing to give our name under the Public Order Act, and we're also charged with threatening or abusive or insulting behaviour. This is a disgusting charge. It covers everything. You can't open your mouth, basically. There's a huge difference in my mind between being threatening and being insulting. There's a huge difference. But this charge, it doesn't say and abusive and insulting, which sounds, this is what people hear when they hear that charge, but actually what the charge says is threatening or abusive or insulting. So this covers an immense amount of speech that a Garda can charge you with that offence. Now, you'll see in the video, at no time were we threatening or abusive or insulting. So the Gardaí manufactured this charge against us in order to justify asking me my name under the Public Order Act. So they know that they can't ask you your name unless they suspect you of a crime. So they manufactured this charge of threatening or abusive or insulting behaviour under the Public Order Act in order to ask me, to justify asking me my name under the Public Order Act. They do it all the time because it has a zero standard of evidence. Basically, the standard of evidence to prove threatening or abusive or insulting behaviour is zero, because all that's required to prove it is this testimony of the arresting Garda. So it's not like a Garda is going to arrest you on a threatening or abusive or insulting behaviour charge and then go into court and then give evidence that contradicts that, because that would be false arrest and the Garda would lose his job. So there's a conflict of interest there in a threatening or abusive or insulting behaviour charge. The standard of evidence is so low that it doesn't matter what you said or you didn't do, as long as the Garda says you did something or you didn't do, or that you did something. So it's a complete joke. The whole Public Order Act is a complete joke. It's been abused for decades in this country, and it is actually one of the leading causes of suicide in this country. Is trouble with the Gardaí. According to the Central Statistics Office, that phrase, trouble with the Gardaí, is actually the phrase they used on the Central Statistics Office website. And that's what it means. You're being abused by the Gardaí. It doesn't mean legal difficulties. That's the second leading cause of suicide in Ireland on the Central Statistics Office website. Trouble with the Gardaí is a uniquely Irish phrase. I had actually suggested it's one of the defining characteristics of Irish people is that they understand and have a unique understanding of this phrase, trouble with the Gardaí. In other words, you're being hassled to death by the Gardaí. And it's happened to so many Irish people. And I, for one, am not putting up with it, and I suggest that you don't also. So I'm going to talk to you now about why you don't have to give your name, why it's so important, why that right of silence is so important in Ireland and in every country, actually, anywhere. So if you would, for a minute, would you just imagine that you live in a very high crime area. There's a lot of drug dealing and criminality in the area. And you're just trying to get on with your life and rear your family and go to work and live a quiet life and you don't want to be involved in any of the drug dealing or the criminality in your area. So one day the Gardaí decide to come down to that area and have a look around and do a bit of surveillance on the criminals and the drug dealing. And they see you coming out of your house, and they see you walking down the road to go to the shop. And the Garda knows by looking at you and the way that you're interacting with people that you're not involved in any kind of criminality, that you're just an ordinary Joe going about your business. And they say, well, hang on, that guy isn't experienced with the law because they're not in criminality. They don't understand their rights. So let's go and see if we can put pressure on them to get some information out of them. So the Garda gets out of his car and he comes over to you and he starts asking you your name. And he starts asking you your address. And he starts asking you, as some people would like, that a Garda could ask any question he likes, even though he doesn't suspect you of any crime. He just wants information. And he takes out his notebook in front of the whole community, and they see him asking you questions and writing in his notebook. And then the Garda, he looks over at the gurriers on the wall and he gives them that accusatory look. And he, I have you now look, you know. And then he hands you a business card and he says, you know, give me a call. If those gurriers give you any hassle, make sure you give me a call. And he gets back in his car and he goes away. And you go to your shop and you get your messages and you go back to your family and you sit in your house. And that evening, those gurriers, they decide in their group mentality, in their mob mentality, that you're a rat for the Gardaí. Even though all the Garda was doing was asking you your name and your address, they decide that you were giving information to the Gardaí about their activities. And they break your windows and they start shouting rat and tout in the window to you. So then you're left with no choice but to call the Gardaí now. And you call the Gardaí and you make a statement of complaint and they come to your house and they look at the evidence and they know, the Gardaí know there's very little they can do about this. So then the Gardaí come and they question the gurriers about your broken windows. And now the gurriers know you're a rat. Before they just thought you were a rat. Now they know you're a rat. And now your house is burnt and your family are gone. And that's all because a Garda can just approach you and ask you questions. Or take another example. Take the example of my friend. I won't say his name, but basically he was out in a nightclub and he met a woman who happened to be having an affair with a married Garda. And they got on well and they had a shift, you know. And it transpired that actually the Garda and this lady had an argument that day because, well, I imagine infidelity leads to a lot of tension in a relationship. But they had an argument that day, and this lady actually singled out a person anybody would have done to punish the Garda, to make the Garda feel bad. I'm actually, well, if you can have a wife, I can have a boyfriend, that kind of style, you know. So this Garda decided he would start to visit my friend at work. And in the evening when my friend would come out of work, there'd be a Garda waiting for him. That Garda would be waiting for him in his uniform, asking him questions, taking notes in his notebook, in front of all his colleagues leaving work at the same time. And the following day when my friend went into work, he had met 5 different rumours about why the Gardaí were talking to him. And you know, for the first day he was able to kind of deal with it and the people knew him and they said, okay, fair enough, the Garda's just hassling you. But that evening when he came out of work, a friend of the Garda was there, another Garda was there, and he done the same thing. He asked questions. He took notes in the notebook in front of all of my friend's colleagues coming out of work. And the following day when my friend went into work, there were more rumours. And this continued for a number of weeks, until eventually the boss of the job came to the guy, my friend, and said, look man, what's the story with all this Garda attention you're bringing on my business, you know? And my friend tried to explain and the boss was somewhat understanding, but the harassment continued. And eventually my friend had to leave work and he actually left his community. He went to another town, he went to another county. But lo and behold, that unfaithful Garda had friends in that county too. And the harassment began again, showing up at work, asking questions. And over a period of time, those people got sick of it too. And my friend was dealing with all the rumours associated with being visited by the Garda over and over again at work. And eventually he had to leave the country altogether and move to a different jurisdiction, where he stayed for 14 years. And when he came back, the harassment started again. And it was all because the Gardaí don't hire nice people. Fair enough, when a little old lady goes into a police station and reports their handbag stolen, the Garda is nice to them. That's not hard to be. But when a Garda is dealing with, do you ever hear the phrase, "it set a thief to catch a thief"? Well, when a Garda is dealing with an awful bastard of a criminal, that Garda is forced to be an awful bastard himself. In order to deal with a bastard, you have to be a bastard. So they don't hire people who are nice all the time. They hire people who have the capacity to be ruthless. And that's the only way to catch ruthless criminals. And because of this, the law is set up in a way to control the ruthlessness of Gardaí. The law is set up in order to protect ordinary citizens. They don't give Gardaí powers that can be easily abused. That's why you don't cooperate with Garda. You don't have to give your name, your address. You don't have to give any information to a Garda. You always have the right to silence. You always have the right to silence, not just when you're under arrest. Now, the law provides for an exception to that right to silence in certain acts of the law. There's an exception to the right to silence, and that is your name and address. That the Garda, when they're investigating a crime under a specific act of law, can ask you and require your name and address. And if you don't give it to them, that in itself is an offence. So then if a Garda suspects you of a crime and you're totally silent, then that Garda, and you refuse to give your name and address, then that Garda can arrest you just on the name and address and get you off the street while they carry out their investigations. And that's reasonable. But what's also reasonable is that you don't have to cooperate with that Garda unless they tell you the crime that they suspect you of, or involvement in, or a witness to, so that they can investigate it. So you don't have to give them any name. You don't have to give them any information at all unless they tell you why they're asking. What do they suspect you of? What were you a witness to? Am I going to incriminate myself if I start answering your questions? So that's why, one of the reasons why, that you don't have to give your name to a Garda unless they suspect you of breaking the law, or being involved in breaking the law, just as a witness. So you'll see in this video that at no time, in fact, the Garda clearly states they're not investigating a crime. And the only reasons they did give for demanding our identity cards and our names and addresses weren't crimes. They're not even crimes. They're not even breaches of the regulations. They're not even breaches of the guidelines. And they're certainly not crimes under the Public Order Act, which we are charged with. It's complete lunacy, what you're about to see in this video. Now, I'll also say at this time that this abuse that Gardaí subject Irish people to, especially under the Public Order Act, it's pretty inconsequential. €100 fine, maybe a month in prison. You certainly wouldn't get it on your first or second offence. You'd probably get the Public Order Act on your first offence. The Court Poor Box, what's it called? The Probation Act. The Probation Act on your first offence. But the Public Order Act is a joke, and it has to go. It's been abused by abusive Gardaí. But what I was going to say was that abuse really only crystallises in the public. So yeah, the Gardaí can take you off the street, and that's abuse. So the Gardaí can falsely bring you to court, and that's abuse. And then they can manipulate the evidence so that the court finds you, and that's a conviction. It's inconsequential. It's Romish. It's a misdemeanor in other countries. It's like a parking fine, But where that abuse really comes into, crystallizes, and this is the real problem here, is that it's the public rejection, it's the social isolation, it's the vilification in front of your peers, when they print your name in the paper and the people, your fellow community members, start looking at you as though there's something wrong with you. That's where the Garda abuse really crystallizes. And it's the public that does that. And it's the same Irish public that know that our Gardaí are a bunch of bastards, or can at least be a bunch of bastards. It's the same public. I know that most Irish people know that the Gardaí are capable of being horrible, horrible people for no reason to ordinary folk. And the Central Statistics Office proves that it's the fourth leading cause of suicide. And the reason that it's the fourth leading cause of suicide, sure, okay, it is the abuse by the Gardaí, but it's actually the reaction of the community when they isolate the person, when they judge the person, when they start talking rumours about the person. So instead of actually the community standing up to abuse of Gardaí and abuse of power, these people who know that the Gardaí are abusive, actually turn on the victim of the abuse and isolate them from the community. Now, I'm hardened to that kind of stuff. I don't, I view the Irish public, the vast majority of the Irish public, as either bootlickers or complicit in the corruption. So their judgment doesn't really affect me. I'd suggest that you get used to that yourself if you're going to fight this battle, because you can see what they've done to Andy Heisman. Imagine stripping a man naked. Bad enough stripping him to his boxer shorts, but stripping a man naked for a public order charge, or for no charge at all, it appears. Why would you strip a man? That is sexual assault. That is a sex crime. That is a sex crime to do that. It's okay to strip search someone if you feel that there's something on their body. Really what they were looking for was a microphone, or was he going to record them abusing him? But to leave him sitting in a cell, stark naked, it's disgusting. It's in a freezing cold cell, and it's grimy and slimy. I don't know if you've ever been in a cell, but that's what they are. And they done that to Katie too. They put Katie in a cell with no coat, no blanket, and turned on the air conditioning. Freezing cold. Turned on the freezing cold air conditioning, and she got hypothermia. And that was one of the hardest things I've ever witnessed in my life. To not react to that. That's what they wanted. They wanted me to start roaring and shouting and banging on the cell. And to listen to Katie crying in the cell next door. Frozen with the cold. Shaking. You could hear the shaking in her voice. And the Gardaí actually panicked at that point. So far from criticising me and Katie or Andy Heisman, you, the member of the public, you need to stand up. You need to stand up before they do this to you. Before they do this to your family member. Before they do this to your community. We're trying to save your asses. We're trying to protect your constitutional rights. I didn't rot in that cell for 24 hours for me. I rotted in that cell for 24 hours for you. For everyone. For all of us. And same with Katie. And same with Andy. You need to stand up. You know this is wrong. Anyway, I'll play the video. If I have time, I might do a commentary at the end of it. Okay.
To Garda Cosgrove and all other members of the Garda Síochána, I accept and acknowledge your oath in the office, which is, I hereby solemnly and sincerely declare before God that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Garda Síochána with fairness, integrity, and regard for human rights, diligence, and impartiality.
Excuse me? Can you stay 2 meters away from me?
Okay.
This is 1 meter. I need you to stay another meter away from me.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of a member of the Garda Síochána with fairness, integrity, and regard for human rights, diligence, and impartiality, upholding the Constitution, which is superior to all positive law, mind you, and the laws, and according to respect to all people. While I continue to be a member, I will do the best of my skill and knowledge, discharge all my duties according to the law, and I do not belong to, and will not, while I remain a member form, belong to or subscribe to any political party or secret society whatsoever. You are hereby on notice that
Can
we
you
exercise
keep
our
your
right
2 meter
under
distance
Article
from
40.
me?
Are you going to listen to me,
Can
man?
you keep your 2 meter distance
You're-
from me?
I
You're
need you to be
in
able to
breach
hear
of
me.
COVID regulations.
You're
Stay
not a
2
regulation
meters.
in face.
Stay 2
You
meters away
approached
from
me, man.
I did not approach you.
You
were
just
over
tell me
here
you're
at
about
this
to arrest
door,
me.
and
That's
you
an
came
approach.
over to me.
So how are you going to arrest me unless you approach me?
What is your name and address, sir?
Why are you
What
asking
is
my
your
name and address? What
Okay?
cause have you
I
to
can
ask
bring
me?
you back to the Garda station
can,
to
but you'd be in
verify
breach
the name
of
of your address.
your
I'm in
duties.
breach of nothing.
You are. You are. What crime are you investigating, officer? Why are you
not
here?
giving me your name and address,
That's not a crime.
sir.
Excuse me.
I'm
Why did you
entitled
come
to
here?
ask
What's
you
the crime
for
that you
your
came
name
here
and
to
address.
investigate? What is the crime that you came here to? That's not a crime. That's a regulation. You are not a regulation enforcer. You're a law enforcer.
That's
You have
positive
powers,
law.
you-
That's
positive
positive
law.
law.
I'm
Are you on
under
your
the
oath, Garda?
Constitution.
Are you on your oath, Garda?
Whatever.
Can
This
you
is a
stay
whatever.
2 meters away from me?
That
please?
is 2 meters.
Stay
Thank you.
100 meters
Stay
away
2
from you,
meters
man.
away.
That is
Where is
2
the
meters.
Okay? Stay 2 meters away.
Why did you come here? What's the crime that you came here to investigate?
What are you handing out today?
What is the
What are you
crime you
handing
came?
out
Why are
today?
you speaking to me, officer?
What? You're speaking to me. What are you handing out today?
You came here for a reason.
Yes.
What was it?
You're in breach of COVID regulations.
People rang the
sir.
station concerned.
People
Who rang
are-
the station?
With no mask on and handing out
I didn't get
flyers.
in anybody's face.
That's what we were told.
Well,
Well,
that's
you
not
got
what
in my
happened.
face.
That's
so
not what happened.
Are you on your oath, Garda? Are you on your oath, Garda?
Complain
I
to the party.
approached
Are you on your oath,
If
Garda?
some factual information. Would you like to read it? If they said no, I walked away.
Well, we came up here with a girl on a bike going past and this man pretty much cornered her.
I didn't corner her. No, I didn't corner her.
She did.
She did take the leaflet. She did so. You know, that's a fact.
You guys aren't 2 meters apart. Why are you guys not 2 meters apart?
We're face match starters. We help each other.
Outside, sir. We're outside in the open air. We're not inside.
Not inside.
Are you on your oath, Garda? Are you on your oath, Garda?
Are you on your oath, Garda?
Are you on your oath? I've asked you more than 3 times and you're not
I've read your
answering.
oath to you.
Are we under arrest?
I don't even know who you are.
Are we under arrest? Are we under arrest?
We weren't even talking to you.
I,
I don't know
ask
what
him,
you
are
got
you
to do
under
with
arrest?
anything.
Am I under arrest?
I don't know what you got to do with
Am I
anything.
under arrest?
Who's the
We're just
complainant?
having to
Garda
over
Constable,
some
am I
stuff.
under
Am I under arrest, Garda?
I haven't even talking to you. I don't even
Okay, so I'm not under arrest. We're free to go.
Am I? Whoa, what about the 2 meters?
Yeah, you,
What about the 2
you
meters?
need to say that. I'm 2 meters away from you. I am bringing you back
Dara,
to the
3
Garda
times.
station to verify your name
That's
and address.
kidnapping, man.
And I am
That's
bringing
kidnapping.
you back to the Garda
That's
station
kidnapping.
to verify your name and address, okay?
Ask him, are you under arrest? 3 times.
If you tell me the reason that you're requiring my name and address, I'm quite happy to give it to you. So you're not going to give me the reason why you're Are you on your oath, Garda?
Yes, I am on that.
Why do you want my identification, man? What is the crime you're investigating?
I'm not investigating any crime.
So why are you speaking
Well,
to
then
me?
we're free to
Because
go.
you're breaking COVID regulations.
You're not a
okay?
regulation.
That's a regulation,
You're a
you're
law
not.
An
enforcer.
act is not
Where does it
law
say-
unless
Where
governed by the
law-
consent of the people.
It's a,
I didn't
it's a
say I was from
regulation,
Cork.
guard.
Listen
It's
to me.
not
I
a
said
law.
I came from
Act is
Cork.
not law unless
No.
governed by the consent of
No.
the people. You need to
I
tell her
was
that.
standing here without you. I didn't need you here at all.
You're looking for
All
a
you want to do
video.
is put something up on Facebook.
I don't
No,
Show the world how
no,
great you are.
it's
You're there with your phone. Of course it is.
because you're on your oath.
Recording, somebody on
You're on your oath, Garda. No, it won't be on Facebook. Let him go. Let them go. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not in any
Why did you
breach.
object to a camera?
I'm not objecting. I didn't object.
If you're on your oath,
I didn't object once.
Okay, fine.
You're putting
If-
your claim out now. I didn't object once.
Well, it seems like you're objecting to it. I'm
No,
sorry.
I did not
Maybe I misunderstood.
You 100%
So-
did misunderstand.
In your oath, where does it say regulation? There are no regulation enforcement powers in your oath. Why are you doing that? Excuse me. Could you answer me? Are you under your oath?
I'm not answering you anymore.
Am I under
I'm
arrest?
being video recorded.
Am I being under arrest?
Well,
You're being video recorded. Look,
They have to-
There's a
told you
camera.
3 times now.
There's another camera. Look at, there's another camera.
I told you
Have you
3
objected?
Dara.
times now. Can you keep your distance from me?
I'm quite happy to keep
Can
my
you
distance
keep your
from
2
you.
meters?
I'm quite happy.
Thank you.
No problem.
if we're not under arrest, then we're free to go. Dara, let's move uptown. Let's move uptown.
Okay, let's
Unless
do that.
you're under arrest, you don't
I'm
have
not.
to stay. So,
Right.
have a good evening, guards.
Oh, this is sorry.
Am I under arrest? Am I under arrest?
okay?
Am I under arrest?
You are not going anywhere. You will
I've
not.
asked you. I've asked you
I'm a
simply. Am I
member of
under
the
arrest?
Garda Síochána, okay?
We understand.
Okay, I want
And you're here on your own.
and I will arrest you.
You haven't
I will
arrested me
arrest
so
you.
far.
I will be bringing you back to the Garda.
You haven't arrested me
Excuse
so
me,
far.
I have just said, okay?
Mike, come back with us.
Okay, you can feel.
Sorry.
No, you've touched me.
Sorry, am I under arrest?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Am I under
Yes,
arrest?
you are.
For
Yes,
what?
you are.
Excuse me,
Yes,
for
you
what?
are. I'm
For
going
what,
to verify
Garda?
your name and address back at the Garda station.
For what? Sorry, an act is not.
Excuse me, are you refusing?
Stop.
Are you refusing?
You're coming into my
Yes,
space, Garda.
Yes, you've been in my space. Are you refusing?
I didn't go into your space.
Okay, you stop now, okay? You stop.
I will if you stop. We'll have mutual respect, okay?
Stop
So
moving.
I'll stop
Have you
if
got
you stop.
identification on you?
No.
Okay, you don't. Alright, okay? I'm going to bring you back to the Garda station to verify your name and address. Alright?
Under what law?
Under what law? Okay, take that out of my face now because I'm sick of it, okay? You want a one-on-one conversation, so take it out of my face, okay?
Under what law,
Under
Garda?
what law?
Yes.
I'm entitled to
An
know
act
who
is-
you are and what you are doing in Tipperary Town.
Not when I'm not
You are
committing
not
a
telling
crime.
me, okay?
What crime have I committed,
What
Garda?
crime have you committed?
Yes.
You are handing out flyers. Where
What
are you
flyers?
from? Where are you from?
County Tipperary.
County Tipperary. And where in County Tipperary are you from?
Tipperary.
Where in Tipperary?
Tipperary, I'm telling you.
Tipperary. What town in Tipperary? What's your
Tipperary,
town?
I'm telling you.
What Townsland are you from in Tipperary?
Tipperary.
What Townsland are you from
Tipperary.
in Tipperary? Okay. You're not giving me the answer
An
of where
act is
you're
not
from.
law
You're
unless
out
governed by the consent of the people, and I do not consent. I do not consent, Garda. You're on your oath. You have no power to pull me over unless you think I'm guilty of committing a crime, and I have not committed a crime.
You are not giving me your name and address. You're going to be brought back to the Garda station, okay? So you just stay there now. Stand there.
An act is not law unless governed by the consent of the people, and I have not committed a crime. I have not committed a crime. Am I obliged to answer your questions?
Yes, you are obliged.
Am I
to
obliged to
I
answer
have
your
to be
questions?
satisfied of who you are, and I'm not.
Am
You are
I
telling me
obliged
you're
to
from
answer your
Tipperary.
questions?
Whereabouts in Tipperary are you from?
Unless I've committed a crime, I'm not obliged to
Okay,
answer your
alright,
questions.
Okay. I'm taking you now, okay? And I'm going to verify.
Unless I'm under arrest, you're assaulting
I
me.
don't think so.
Unless I'm...
That is assault.